Howdy, I'm J.P. Bear and I'm a Vietnam veteran of the U.S. Army. I live here in Phoenix, Arizona, and over the last few years I've been working on writing and producing a film about Sergeant Gander, the Royal Rifles of Canada, and the Battle of Hong Kong. My interest first peaked in this story about Gander, the Newfoundland dog, who originally was named Pal, when I passed out materials to help children improve their reading skills through a program called Reading to Dogs, in which my own dog, Supu, a Landseer Newfoundland, was involved. There was a list of stories about non-fictional Newfoundland dogs, and I noticed Gander's name. The more I learned about Gander, the Royal Rifles, and the Battle of Hong Kong, the more my passion grew to tell the world this story. Every time I tell it, I discover that most people don't know about Gander and the Royal Rifles or their history together. My wife said, even when you are talking to someone from Canada, you can't assume that they know anything about Gander and the Royal Rifles. The People's Dispensary for Sick Animals, the PDSA, awards what is called the Dickon Medal to animals for acts of extreme bravery in wartime. The Dickon Medal is commonly described to as the Animal's Victoria Cross, and on the front of the medal it reads, "We also serve." Sergeant Gander was awarded his medal 59 years after his actions of December 19, 1941. And in February, I went to Toronto to visit with Sergeant Major George McDaniel and his co-author Sue Beard, who wrote the book A Dog Named Gander. In June, I met with the Canadian War Museum staff and was presented with the opportunity and the honor to hold and photograph Sergeant Gander's Dickon Medal and his certificate. I've had the opportunity to speak with Eileen Elms on a number of occasions. She was a childhood friend of the Haydens, who were Gander's original owners before he was given to the Royal Rifles. I've spoken with Hong Kong veteran Phil Doddridge and to Daryl Henderson, whose father, Stuart, was also a Hong Kong veteran. I visited the Earnscliffe Manor where Gander's medal ceremony took place in Ottawa, October 27, 2000. I've met and spoken with other people who have helped me in gathering information so as to present the most accurate film possible. When I spoke with Sergeant Major McDaniel and listened to the story about Gander, the Royal Rifles, and viewed his scrapbook, it brought to mind the similarities of the Battle of Hong Kong and the Battle at the Alamo of U.S. history. Those 160 men were facing a force of over 5,000 Mexican soldiers, like the 2,000 soldiers of Sea Force who were facing a force of over 60,000 Japanese soldiers. Both of you were outnumbered by a ratio of 30-1. I'm aware that there were other troops with you in Hong Kong, the British, the Indian, and Chinese volunteers, and in both cases you were up against unsurmountable odds. As the cry from Texas, "Remember the Alamo," is often heard, I want people around the world to say, "Remember the Battle of Hong Kong," and to reassure you that these participants will never be forgotten. What Phil Doddridge said at that memorial wall ceremony best summarizes this. Quote, "Until this stone disintegrates and returns to dust, we will be remembered. May we all, from our place in the hereafter, be able to look down and say, my name is written there, and I am remembered." When speaking about this film, I always come back to two statements. The first is, this is a story that needs to be told. And I want it to be told in its truest form as a Canadian story. I am passionate that it be told as close to the truth as possible, and I know there are certain elements that just are not exactly correct, but that's what is called poetic license. But as Phil said, it makes for a good story. I truly believe God is wanting this story to be told. How do I know this? Well, let me tell you of a couple encounters I've had. After I had already made plans to visit Ottawa, a week before I was to arrive, I spoke with Trevor Kerr. He's a staff member for the High Commissioner, Howard Drake. I was mentioning to Trevor that I would like to visit Earnscliffe Manor to see where the medal ceremony was held and to see how big the rooms were. He informed me that the manor is the residence of the High Commissioner and visitations are not permitted. He then added, except one day each year, the residence is open to the public for visiting, and that one day just happens to be the day you arrive, June 3rd. So when you arrive, you can come on over and visit. Wow, I couldn't believe I was so lucky. And after determining that I wanted the song A Pittance of Time to be the theme song for the film, I spoke with Tony Kelly. He's the brother and manager of Terry Kelly, the Canadian singer and songwriter who wrote and performs the song. Afterwards, I found out that the song had been played at the Battle of Hong Kong Veterans 50th reunion. Talk about ironic. When I was speaking with Daryl Henderson and told him about all the ironic things that were happening while researching and writing this story, he said, it's serendipity. Yes, God does want this story to be told. Not only did I want to tell Gander's story when he was with the Royal Rifles, but I wanted people to know who he was and where he came from. So I give his background to begin with and the people around him. The 5-year-old boy, Jack Hayden, Jack's family and friends, and the situation leading up to Gander being given to the Royal Rifles. I would like to tell you of 3 scenes in the film. The first is as the film opens with an overlay showing the Dickin medal on the bottom. On the front of the medal, it's highlighted are the words, "We also serve." Next is the scene after the dedication ceremony of the memorial wall in Ottawa. A little boy walks to the memorial wall with an elderly man and a Newfoundland dog. The boy looks toward the names on the wall. He reaches out and he touches an honored soldier's name, Gander. And the boy looks back at the man. The scene dissolves away to fade out, and then the film begins. At the end of the film, we flash back to the scene with the boy touching the honored soldier's name, Gander. The boy looks back at the gentleman and says, "This was him, right, Grandpa? This was Pal. He was your best friend." The old man wipes a tear from his eye and he smiles and he says, nods yes. I'm asking for any assistance, both informational and or financial, to get this film produced as soon as possible. For as has been said, these veterans aren't getting any younger. I want you all to know that I'm working very hard to make this a film we can all be proud of. I'm being very protective of keeping this as a Canadian story. Filmed in Canada, using Canadian stars, and behind-the-scenes staff from Canada. Some people have mentioned to me about how sometimes a Canadian story can and often becomes another country's story, and we won't mention who, and Canada doesn't even get an honorable mention. I guarantee this will stay a Canadian story. I will do everything in my power to make sure it is a story as factual as possible to honor all the men, women, and dog who gave their everything so that others could have their memories. In conclusion, there are 4 statements that keep coming to mind. The first one I read in the pamphlet of the Dickin Medal ceremony. It reads, "Hopefully the story of Gander and his brave and selfless act in order to save his friends will help to keep alive the memory of those brave Canadian soldiers who long ago and far away gave their yesterday for our tomorrow." Second, from the book A Dog Named Gander, it is written, "They shall grow not old, as we that are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. At the going down of the sun and in the morning, we will remember them. Third, also from the book, A Dog Named Gander, Sergeant Major George McDowell said at the medal ceremony, if Gander was watching the ceremony to fix his place of honor forever in our history and in our hearts, I know he would be grinning his doggy smile as he forgave the poor ignorant souls who, after hearing of the ceremony, said, but after all, he was only a dog. Some dog, eh? Gander. And whew, finally, back to my own statement. This is a story that needs to be told. Thank you. God bless you all. And as I've learned to say, cheers.